Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are here to record a second part of our series for National Coffee Day. Today is September 1st, and we have with us a local guest from Albuquerque, Keith White from Paraiso Trading. He is a green coffee trader. And Keith, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, Thomas, I'm extremely happy to be here, and thanks for having me. You know, I appreciate the opportunity, and I've been looking forward to it.
So we have a local green trader that lives here in Albuquerque. I usually have traders that come into our shop that are coming from other parts of the country. So I think what was it? I guess in June you had called us, and Keith has been working on bringing coffee in from Cameroon. And for those who don't know where Cameroon is, and I will be the first to admit that I didn't, it's considered West Africa. Is it West Central?
West Central Africa.
West Central Africa. So is it on the equator or just north of the equator?
It is. The country is fairly large, but they are right on the equator, and then a little north of the equator.
A little north, okay. Yeah. And when you were bringing us coffee, and I think a couple of our customers might have even gotten a chance to try it. We were kind of blown away. We got 5 pounds from you because we don't have a sample roaster, and we're like, hey, can you bring us a decent amount? And you did. Thank you so much. Absolutely. And what we ended up doing is we graded it, the green grading, and I'm by no means like a Q grade quality roast or anything like that, but we've gotten our SCA books, and we had graded it at like I believe a 2.3. So the amount of defects allowed in specialty coffees up to 5, and it was at half that. So we were pretty impressed. Now, one thing we noticed was the coffee beans are a lot smaller than in other parts in Central America, and that's because of the elevation.
Absolutely.
We were, I don't have that part written down, but I think we were over 2,100 meters, right?
Yeah, we're about 2,400 meters is where the beans are being grown there in Cameroon. Yeah,
that's really something. So before we really talk about what we'd love to talk to Keith about today, because Keith's got some great projects, and for people that have followed us on National Coffee Day and the support that we do for the Coffee Trust, we're always interested in working with traders that it's not just about buying coffee, but it's about the work that is needed to happen on the ground in country of origin. And so we're going to be talking to you, Keith, a little bit about that. But before we do, we're just really excited about the coffee. I'm just going to throw some notes out about what Keith and I ended up cupping this together. And we first checked out the fragrance of the coffee. For people that have seen coffee people, you'll see them with the cups and the spoon, and they're making all these slurping sounds.
Yes.
You and I got to do that, and I admit that we've just recently really started to do this on a regular basis, and we got this amazing floral, sweet, peppery fragrance out of the ground coffee beans. And then when we actually steeped the coffee in hot water, we ended up transitioning. It suddenly got a little bit lighter, yeah, and floral with some caramel finish. I think that was a point that you had pointed out. Yeah. And it was very even consistent aroma. And then we actually tasted it, and actually the cupping part, and then all of a sudden we got this sort of winey, wine kind of texture to the coffee, light sour, not strong, lots of lemon, transition to lemon, and then all of a sudden we get these earthy finished tannins. So so just to get people a little excited about this coffee when it comes in. And so we've all been subject to obviously COVID. You've been trying to travel the west coast of the country to find buyers for this coffee.
Yes.
How have you fared through this challenging time?
Well, Thomas, it's been interesting, with, wanting to get the beans out. We, our company is in, fairly early stages, but we've been at it for about 3 years now, and yeah, we were at a point where we needed to get some green beans out to some potential customers and start to get some feedback. And of course, Thomas there at Trifecta Coffee, you guys have been amazing. I can't say how much I appreciate the help there and helping to develop the profile and determine the quality and what we had in a product. And so once we did some of that, or with yourself and another local roaster, we headed west, and we wanted to hit the Pacific Northwest, which is infamously known for being a coffee hub. And so we went up there and we hit about 45 roasters between Portland, Seattle, and we headed down to Los Angeles. And actually, I'm sorry, not 45. It was closer to about 60 roasters, and we dropped off samples, and we had amazing feedback. Being new to the industry, I was very hesitant and unsure as to the reception that we'd receive being new importers. And it's been nothing but a positive experience. And again, I've had a great time thus far and look forward to what the future holds. And so, yeah, we dropped off a number of samples. We've got great feedback from the roasters. Many of them have committed and are interested in purchasing beans. And so yeah, it's been a great experience thus far.
That's good. So you've really pushed through and just hitting the road the hard way.
That's it, man. That's it. But again, I credit if you call it success, that we've experienced even thus far, to individuals much like yourself, and a special shout out to David over at Via Miriam, who also has been a huge help in helping figure things out. So yeah, it's been a great process.
That's good to hear. We love to hear Albuquerque roasters working together. So
absolutely,
those guys do good work. So I'm new to coffee as well, maybe a little older than you. I started in 07.
Right.
What is your story? Because when we talk about National Coffee Day, one of our themes is connect over coffee. And
Sure.
so we're going to be talking to people from all walks of life. How did you end up in the world of coffee?
All right. Well, that's a broad question, but I'll narrow it down for the video. I grew up farming in Georgia. I have a background in agriculture. Myself and my family, we have for many years, been in the agricultural sector. And my father has worked for the USDA's Natural Resource Conservation Service. And so, my whole life, I've always been big into sustainable and environmentally conscious farming, and regardless as to what the crop is. And so, I've always known that I wanted to do something on the continent and hopefully in agriculture, but, it took some time in figuring out to get there. And so while at the University of New Mexico, a dear friend of mine, or we became dear friends over the course of our studies, he's from the Central African country of Equatorial Guinea, which is the neighboring country to Cameroon at its southern border. Okay. And so, and they also produce coffee and cocoa there in that region. And so he invited me out for an initial visit, kind of off the spectrum, because I owned a barbecue food truck here in New Mexico. Wow. And their family was interested in starting a chain of American-style barbecue restaurants. And so, I went there initially with the open mind and, completely, a leaf in the wind to figure things out and see what the culture was like and, just experience the continent. And so, I went there initially back in 2017. And in 2017, I was there for about 10 days, and I was able to see all walks of life. I went to the furthest village. I was able to go to the coffee and cocoa farms, and, as well as a number of other agricultural commodities that they grow in the region. And, at the time I saw that they knew what they were doing. They had a quality product, or at least I thought so. And you know, they had gotten some positive feedback from other places. And so again, at that point, I felt that I could, with my and my father's agricultural knowledge and background, you know, could add some value to their agricultural sector, because you know, my friend and his family, they worked in government there for some years, and it enables me to be able to communicate with, you know, the proper individuals to progress, you know, the agricultural sector. And so a part of their country's diversification plan that they've rolled out is largely focused in the agriculture and healthcare sectors. And so, you know, we began working with their government and a number of farmers locally and cooperatives to really determine how we can help improve the state of agriculture as a whole. But the initial focus has become the coffee and the cocoa. As we know, it is a commodity that is largely accepted. And so, you know, we began importing some sample bags, and we brought in, you know, some of the ute bags just to begin to get the samples out and have enough product here to ensure that we have a quality product. And so that sort of brought me to the coffee world, and I've been doing extensive research, and you know, I never knew how intricate and how complex coffee is. And you know, again, after doing a number of cupping and tastings, and you know, a lot of research into how coffee reaches the cup, you know, we were able to determine, you know, that we had a fairly quality product. And you know, we hope now going forward to and we began to work with the farmers to improve, you know, with the assistance of my father and some of his colleagues, to improve the state of agriculture and, you know, irrigation, and help them to determine how to do things on a sustainable level that, you know, will begin to create more jobs for the local community. And you know, we're working a lot with women farmers as well, because you know, it's we really want to aid in the fight of inclusiveness in terms of, you know, women farmers in the region. And so yeah, you know, we're reaching in several different directions, but you know, coffee and cocoa most certainly, as it is a crop that is cultivated in the area, and certainly you know, it can be produced at a pretty high level. You know, we see this as an opportunity to begin to help the country in the agricultural sector, and then the hope is to diversify into other commodities such as avocado and pineapple, which grow in abundance in the region as well.
So let me take you way back.
Yes, yes, right.
So now your grandfather, he was a sharecropper.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
And what does, you know, you probably saw, you know, growing up.
Yes.
What he went through. What would be things that you saw that you don't want to see happen when you're looking at a new region, or a region maybe getting into a commodity, so to speak?
Right. So there's a couple things that are very high on our you know, our chart in terms of importance. And the first thing, you know, again, as my grandfather, you know, I grew up on the farm with him. You know, this is my great grandfather. He actually, again, he was a sharecropper, and the issues were that, you know, we would produce, and you know, he would produce these crops, and you know, blood, sweat, and tears go into creating this, you know, and our crops were cotton, tobacco, soybeans were the three main crops we focused on. And what would happen is, typically we'd produce all of the stuff, we put the know-how and, you know, into getting it to where it needed to be, and we would often have to sell it, or he would, to the markets at, you know, pennies on the dollar. And then you'd often see these same commodities being sold at, you know, other markets by the local, you know, the local hubs that we utilized, and they'd make the real money on the crops. And so, you know, it'd always be a thing of, you know, how do we get into that next level? How do we help to push to the point where, you know, we're able to realize the true value of the work that we're putting into this crop? And, I feel it's very similar in Central Africa, well, in many areas
In
where the
coffee
region,
in general, you would say.
exactly, in general, all over the world. And, typically the farmers, the ones who really put, the hard work, and not to say that, there's not hard work elsewhere in the rest of the chain, but, the individuals who are putting the labor, in the fields, cultivating and ensuring that we have these cups of coffee that we enjoy every day. And typically, and historically, they've been the individuals who've seen the least amount of benefit from the work that they put into it. And so, again, it was very comparable. And after going to the region and seeing what they were dealing with, it really struck a deep chord with me, because, it was very similar to what we dealt with. And I just felt this sense, or this need to, take the things that we've sort of learned through going through this process here in the States, down in the South, and through our time farming, and how we can, present that and help the individuals. And right now we're focusing in Central Africa because that was the first region where we were introduced. But we've began speaking with farmers in Uganda, in Burundi, in Ethiopia, who are all producing beans, quality product. But for us, because we've seen the detriment of buying a product without truly knowing the work that's been put into it. And so, for us, it's about being able to go to these other regions and actually see that they are doing the right work, or doing the work the right way, or have the desire to do it the right way, and just simply need the guidance and assistance to get them to that point. And, again, fortunately, because, my dad's primary job through the Natural Resource Conservation Service has been, developing projects of sustainability. How do we treat the soil? How do we improve the soil in a way that we no longer need to utilize the chemicals and pesticides? And that, I feel, is the second big thing for us. We've come to a point as a society that many individuals believe that we need the chemicals, the pesticides, in order to produce crops on a large scale. But, I can assure you that that is not the case. And, we've done several experiments, here in New Mexico, working with dead soils is how it was presented,
Right.
By the USDA. And we were able, over the course of one growing season, to rehabilitate the soil and then improve it to a point where it was producing crops comparable to any other area. And so, again, we've got practices and things that we've been utilizing and developing over the years. And now we feel we have the avenue to really put these things to work, and, in a way that's going to really create some change for a number of individuals.
How many farmers do you feel, is it a cooperative that you're working with?
So I work with, so in Cameroon, we work with two cooperatives, and, we know the farmers, we work directly with, so the cooperative it consists of about 8 different, small shareholder farms.
Okay.
And then in Equatorial Guinea, we work directly with the farmers there, as, they've not quite reached the point of establishing their cooperative. And so, currently there are only about 4 or 5 farmers who are producing coffee at this time in Equatorial Guinea, as they are again in the midst of a diversification period, and they realize that coffee and cocoa, as and I'll take you back a little bit. They produced historically coffee and cocoa and exported both to the world, but after they saw oil success,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of they went away from agriculture, in whole. I mean, there were really no exports really to account for, going out of the region or out of the country. And so now that they realize and they understand the benefit and the value to not just the country, well, the country as a whole, but to the citizens of the country, to be able to now start to work, get these jobs where they can build things, and another portion of this is that we're working with childcare facilities and daycare facilities here in the States to begin to, and we've already begun to train. We're calling them facility managers for the daycare facilities there in the country, and because we were, experiencing some issues where the women were needing to bring their kids to work, and it's a cultural thing, but as we understand, we need to make sure that they're safe, and we never want to put kids in a place where they're potentially in harm's way, and so we've already begun training some of the women there to fulfill these roles of, not just overseeing or watching the children, but, a level of education, something in a way that the parents know that, not only is my child being taken care of, but this is adding benefit to their life. They're learning things that, they may not have previously had access to because they couldn't afford to go to school or didn't have the means to get to the school, or a number of different scenarios. And so, again, we're considering several facets of this, but back to your question, the two main things, again, the lack of transparency in terms of, with my grandfather, the lack of transparency when producing the crops and where the steps are from there in the final consumer, and then educating on the soil health and soil improvement without needing the chemicals and the pesticides.
And that's been your foundation work for these last 3 years. Without that, you wouldn't have had a productive crop, and that would have required too much labor. Is that a true statement?
No, that's a very true statement. Absolutely.
Now, it's interesting. This is my observation. I know we've talked about getting you introduced with Bill Fishbein from the Coffee Trust, but when you talk about economic diversity in Guatemala, it's been the opposite. That coffee's kind of always been the sort of the centerpiece to their economy, and it's a touchy subject with coffee people, but diversify people out of coffee. That there's other areas, and for women in Guatemala, at least in the Isile region where Bill works, they have developed, small micro lending program for the women to do things outside, because they don't typically do the farming. The women are not engaged in the farming. So it's very. It would be interesting to see a juxtaposition in culture between Cameroon and Guatemala as an example.
And and that actually is a great point, because they're in Central Africa. Traditionally and historically, the women are the ones who do a large majority of the farming.
Wow.
And so however, whenever it comes to these specialty crops like cacao and coffee,
the men come in.
You typically, exactly, because they know the value, and it doesn't mean that the women aren't still producing, but it's just a situation of, it's, and, for lack of a better term, it's a patriarchal type of society, in that, the men are the ones who, in terms of business and things of that nature, they do the communicating. And yet the women are typically the ones at the farm, tending to the kids, making sure that the work is actually, they're the ones doing the work. And so, again,
so that was a traditional thing then. Women were always on the farm. Yes. So, because I was going to ask you, like, who was asking for the health, not the healthcare, the child care. So obviously the women were saying, hey, were they the ones that said we need this then?
And it was a collaborative thing. It was a combination. I began working with a farmer. Her name was Fatima, out of Cameroon, and she and I were discussing how we're gonna, what it's gonna take for us to achieve our certain certifications. As I'm sure typically there are some areas that you'll go and they're like, we need to see an organic certification, or we want to see a rainforest alliance. And so, we began working with the farm managers to get them trained. But in the discussions to get this achieved, she was saying that, this is something that I foresee in what you've outlined for me, is going to be a bit of an issue because, the women may not have someone else at home that can watch the kids. And then, again, they bring them to work, and traditionally, historically, it's been a situation where no one's really put a close eye on it or really looked to see that it's really, what's happening. And so, again, it was a collaborative and a joint decision that, this is something that, even if it's not globally required, it's something that we feel is going to add benefit, not only to the mothers and the parents who are able to now, work without having to, really worry about their children being safe, but also the children. I mean, we're presenting and, we're even hoping to include an element of, breakfast, lunch, feeding the kids, making sure, because nutrition is something that has been greatly overlooked in the country in terms of, well, in the region, on the continent as a whole, because many of the countries that I've visited, I've noticed that at the schools they may not have school lunch or school breakfast or things that we know are very vital for children when their brains are developing. And so we are in the process of working with local school systems and trying to develop things that, again, are going to add benefit to the parents, but also to the children. And then, as a whole, when you have a more, able workforce and you have resources in place for them, then, you're able to operate at a more efficient level. And so, these are all things that have played into the equation. And yeah, the women farmers, after we vocalized to them, because initially some were a little resistant because, they're like, well, this is my baby and, my baby needs to be with me,
Yeah.
And so, but it took a little, not really negotiating, but education as to how this is going to be best for them and how, by us setting this up. And, we made sure that they were aware that at any point during the day, if they needed to come in during their breaks and they wanted to check on the kids or whatever, they were more than welcome to do so. And so, yes, we're making sure that, the women expressed that this was something that, could benefit them and would, be very helpful. And, fortunately, I've got several aunts, who work in and own daycare facilities down in Georgia, and they've been very helpful in getting me. And we know we're not aiming to be comparable, or I won't say comparable, exactly what the standards are here in the States,
Yeah.
but at least on a level where globally it's accepted, and then we know that we're adding benefit to the lives and the day-to-days of the workers and the children who are involved.
That's amazing. Now, have you set up some kind of nonprofit foundation? Like, how do you keep the separation
Yeah.
and it's okay to be a profitable company,
Yes.
because we're going to talk about that with the Coffee Trust and the formation of Coco Meow, who's a for-profit company, and they're then directing monies towards the Coffee Trust.
Sure.
How are you? I know you're in the early stages of things, but how is that all coming together?
So to date, we've already, the company is structured in the sense of, we have, Paraiso Trading is the trading entity that is importing the beans and the cocoa and in the future other products. But we fall underneath, we have a parent company, which is Paraiso Ventures. And the holding company, it is in place so that we can start the branch of the nonprofit branch, which we've already calculated and began to formulate. Futuro del Paraiso is the name of the nonprofit. And, you won't find as many places now. Unfortunately, we're still, again, in the process of formalizing and getting that entity established completely. But that is going to be the nonprofit branch. And to date, the way that we've sort of, separated, and, you hit the nail on the head. We're a very young company, and it has largely been, myself, my father. I began consulting with the New Mexico Telemedicine Telehealth Association, And so a lot of the work that we're doing, it has been at a level informal in the sense of, it's been financing that has been coming more independently. And, it's not something that we're even looking to be able to collect. It's more so how do we get them the resources? How do we get them situated in a point where we ensure that this whole venture is feasible? And so that's where we've been to date. But to
And
answer your question,
is this that organization in Japan, JICA, is it?
well,
JICA?
so yes, the New Mexico Telemedicine Telehealth Association, they are partnered with JICA, which is a Japanese corporation that works in developing countries. And I mean, they are a tremendous resource. They've done work in Ecuador and India, and I mean, all over the world. And I was very fortunate to be introduced to the New Mexico Telemedicine Telehealth Association after my second visit to the continent. And, they were able to help me to connect with JICA, who was then able to tell me, okay, these are the projects that we finance and that we support. And, if you go there and do some fact finding and gather this information, then we can tell you whether or not this is something we can move forward with. And so
Oh, wow.
I went back, got all of the answers. And again, the only way I was able to be this successful is because of the access to the ministries. And, the Minister of Agriculture was tremendous, help in getting things figured out. The Ministry of Health, they're all very forthcoming as they're in, as I said, the period of diversification, and they're looking for ways and means to improve the state of things for their population and their people. And that applies for both Cameroon, Equatorial Guinea, as well as the other countries in the CMAC region. And so countries in which we have dealings in as well. But again, the Telemedicine Telehealth Association, they are partnered with JICA because, I'm not sure if you know, but New Mexico actually has the #1 telemedicine telehealth association in the world.
Oh, wow.
And so they do a lot of work in remote areas, places where, they may not have a doctor's office or the ability to access, a doctor. And I mean, I can tell you some stories that I experienced on the continent that, really made me, it deeply ingrained that need to do something more. And so, and I mean, initially I was like, well, can I pay for you to go to the doctor? But there are way too many individuals to try and attack it that way. And so, fortunately, they've presented us with means of how we can help to build hospitals, how we can help to diversify the healthcare industry as a whole, meaning implementing women's hospitals, implementing children's hospitals, because as of now, there really aren't any of those in Cameroon or Equatorial Guinea. They're more general hospitals. And so, again, I saw a tremendous opportunity to partner with these companies in a way that we can offer solutions and, deliver things that, because, I'm very new to this type of work in this industry, this world. And I'm all about working with individuals who have already tread the waters, who have already, beaten the path.
Exactly.
And so yeah, I got with those guys, and they have been phenomenal in giving me resources or introducing me to resources and telling us exactly step by step what's going to have to happen in order to get the financing over to the country. And now, we're working to, and as I say, we're in the early stages. I had some meetings with them early last week about, where we are and where we're moving towards. But, the most recent discussion was about how to establish a coffee processing facility, or a, coffee/cocoa processing facility, and a storage facility there in the region, and what it would take to make that happen. And so we're moving forward, and we've been speaking with, the government there in Equatorial Guinea as to, and Cameroon as to where they stand, and how quickly they're going to be ready to move forward with things, because, it does require the cooperation of the government in order to make these things happen. And so, and again, Thomas, I can't say how fortunate we are to have the relations that we do in the region, and the ability to make these changes and make these suggestions, you know.
That sounds so. When you were talking about Equatorial Guinea,
Equatorial Guinea.
yeah, I always want to say New Guinea because
Yes.
I've never like Papua New Guinea, Equatorial Guinea. I have to always pause.
Yes.
So, and you said it's only a handful of farms, which
Yeah.
so that tells me that's a real partnership then, in the sense that these farmers are literally going to be, their coffee's going to go through your trading company.
100%. Yep.
So it's not just a matter of, oh, we're coming in and we're just going to give you a price. So
Yeah.
how do you describe, because I hear this word used a lot, partnership with
Yes.
with brokers and companies, and it's sort of like, and I don't want to go on a tangent here on my little rant.
Yeah.
I'm a small roasting company, right? Very small. We don't do direct trade.
Right.
What we do is we have direct relationships with coffee traders, coffee brokers, and then we vet what you guys do.
Yes.
So, what is your definition of partnership?
Okay. So for me, it's about working. Well, it has multiple levels, but at the first level, it is working with farmers who are willing, and who are willing to make the necessary changes, and they want to, they want to work with us to see that their things on their farms are improved, and that they move towards a place of being, and whatever, internationally accepted in terms of the procedures and the processes that they use, and making sure that, things such as, what I referenced earlier in terms of the child care and things of that nature are being addressed, and that we work together. So partnership at that level of, we both together collectively have an understanding, and we're working towards the same goal together. Then also it means, if I'm partnering with these farmers or this cooperative, then I know for a fact that everything are these things that we hold dear in terms of, transparency, inclusion. We're forthcoming and honest with information in terms of how things are being done step by step on the farm. That's another level. And then, ultimately a partnership in the sense of, you're selling me these beans, or at least, in that sense, you're selling them to me, but, we're partnered in the sense of, I know that you're selling the beans to me, and, if there are other buyers for the beans, then I'm aware, and we're, that's something that is established within our agreement. And then a partnership in the sense of, we're looking to get more for the product that you have, and eliminate some of the steps in between, where traditionally, it goes from the farmer to a in-country trader, who now is just simply, transporting the beans essentially. Then you have the warehousing agent, who is going to hold the beans, and they sell the beans again for another. Then you have the actual exporter, who is now going to export the beans to the, and then you have the buyer, the importer. And so there are so many different levels before they make it to your shop, And so for me, it's about, how do I connect as my company directly with the roasters, with the companies who are using the beans, and then the only individuals on the other side are going to be the farmers and the cooperative owners. Those are the only other two individuals on that side. And so for me, partnership is direct relationship. I'm not, dealing with several different levels. It's myself and the farmers. And I know that the things that are happening on these farms that I'm promoting and selling their beans are in accordance with our, what's the best way to describe
Just
it?
get your own company values, basically.
Exactly. Right? Company values, our ethics, our vision of transparency, because the big thing that we promote to anyone that we give samples or our beans to, is that we aim to really, really provide transparency. And, again, I tell everyone that I promote and sell our beans to, you know, if there's ever a time that, you know, I'm in the countries and you want to come and see the farms and, you know, want to experience and see what's happening, I welcome that, because, you
So
know, not only,
can I put you on the spot then?
yeah,
So what do you, and I know that this is an evolution, because this is what we're doing in Guatemala with one cooperative, is we want to get the farmer well above fair trade.
yes,
So
yes.
how do you have a number of how much further above fair trade you're able to get the farmer?
You know, so because our product is, you know, I mean, you're not seeing a whole lot of Cameroonian coffee on the market right now.
Right.
And so, again, you know, the last year has largely been spent determining the quality, confirming the quality, and ensuring where the beans fall on the spectrum of specialty coffee that's on the market.
Right.
And so, you know, as of right now, we typically try to aim for about 50 cents over what the market price is, but even a little more than that occasionally. And the good thing about it is that, you know, anything that we're making over the market price, or anything that we do make over the market price, these are the amounts that we're using, because, you know, we were going to take the route of you know, seeking funding for our nonprofit, you know, and trying to finance some of the things that we are attempting to accomplish there through that means. But, you know, and honestly, I mean, after speaking with you and understanding and looking into the Coffee Trust and really reviewing their website and what they have done and what they're doing, I mean, that inspired me to say that, you know, and especially once we've confirmed the quality, which we've been doing, I mean, that we have a quality product, and we're not just promoting or willing to just sell these beans to just anyone. You have to be willing to understand that we're asking a higher price because the additional is going directly back to, you know, the farms, going back to, and when I say to the farms, going back to the farms initially in a way that we collaborate with them to make sure that the funds are being utilized in the best manner to grow and to continue to improve things. And, you know, a part of that is the farmer being able to make a little more than what he traditionally has made. But we don't want to just say, okay, you know,
You want to be able to assure some of it's reinvested back in.
exactly, and into the product, into the people, into the, you know, the agricultural sector as a whole, because, you know, that's where I feel the changes, you know, the growth can be created, where you have these farmers who are working towards this goal, but you also have the government who are partnering, and, you know, there are things in place to assist them. You know, here in the US, you know, and I learned this, you know, because of my dad in his position, you know, each USDA facility or plant material center, they have seed banks. And so in the case that, you know, a crop experiences some type of detrimental, you know, illness, and it kills off an acre or, you know, a large section, you can go to these organizations and they'll determine why this happened, how to avoid it in the future, and provide the seeds to plant to continue and go forward.
Oh,
And
wow.
so we hope to, you know, enact something of this sort, so that way we not only, you know, are giving them, because one thing that I am you know, 100% against is, you know, don't give. You know, I'm not about just charity. You know, it's, the charity has to come with some type of education and understanding, because otherwise it'll be, and we've seen it on the continent for far too long, that you know, everyone is like, oh, we give, and, you know, but that's not doing anything to educate and to help them to understand and avoid getting into that situation again. And so this is what we're, you know, hoping to do, you know, through various means, you know, educating the individuals as to what needs to be done to set them up for success for years to come, you know.
Well,
And
we definitely, I mean, that's kind of always been our standard for working with various traders and nonprofits, is that it's a very, Bill and I have had this discussion just yesterday. You know, sometimes some of these things are just going to take forever to
Yeah.
just, literally plant the seed.
Yes.
It's not a big bureaucracy, a big overnight, flash in the pan, because those things usually disappear after a couple of years.
That's it.
And
That's
they've
it.
seen NGOs in Latin America show up for 5 years, and then they're
Yeah.
gone. So
Yeah. And you know what that creates is dependency. The individuals get used to having this aid or this someone helping, and it doesn't, I tell you, for myself at least, uh, I won't say hardship, but struggle, or having hard times typically fosters innovation,
yeah,
and when you're in situations where, and I saw that even when I was there in the country and on the continent. You wouldn't do some of the work that some artists and individuals do with nothing. It is truly phenomenal. And so for me, it's like, if they are given the proper tools as to how to formalize this and how to create it in a way, and the government of the region, they've done a great job, and the elders, they've sent a lot of the youth away to university, and in the past few years they've been returning, and so you're starting to see this, spectacular change of the work culture, and the desire to diversify and add more people to the workforce, and really to structure and formalize things. And so, I'm very fortunate to be a part of everything that's happening there right now. And again, I can see the change happening slowly, but as you said, when you have these NGOs and these nonprofits coming in and creating this complacency or this this contentment because they have this stuff coming in, and not to say that they don't need assistance, because you can provide the assistance, but that has to come with the education as to how to avoid being in this place in the future, and that's a big obstacle to tackle. But again, the work is being done now, and the individuals are putting the effort into it.
that's that's I'm looking forward to our partnership, because
Yes.
that's exactly the direction we're heading in. And we'll talk offline, but definitely have some ideas we'd love to
Yeah.
throw your direction as well.
Oh, I
So
would greatly appreciate that. And one other thing I wanted to point out, that you mentioned earlier, and that I also saw on the Coffee Trust website, the micro lending and the microfinancing for the small shareholder farmers. This was something that we were thinking about, like, how do we? But then when you and I met, our first time when we did our cupping and roasting, and you mentioned how you all did it, it was like, ding, that's exactly what we want to implement as well. Because again, what it begins to do is cultivate and create this credit culture. Now these farmers are able to show and go to the banks eventually that, hey, I have this credit history.
be honest with you, if it's done right, I don't even think they need a bank.
Oh no, and they most certainly do
And,
not.
once you get the ball rolling, so
Yeah.
hopefully you don't need a bank.
Hey, that is the goal. That is the
Yeah.
true hope, man. And again, I truly applaud what you all have done. And
Well, I'm just a messenger. I'll get you in touch with Bill. Like I said, Bill will be, and 40 years of making mistakes and figuring
yes,
things out, and
yes,
even now, they're always adjusting their projects, reevaluating what's necessary.
yeah,
Um, I think one of the themes that I've seen, they call it campesino, which is farmer to farmer. At the end of the day, it's and you're in a complete alignment with what the Coffee Trust does. It isn't about giving; it's
right,
about helping. But it's also they define what problems they want to solve. And there was a shift where they decided, after they kind of battled Leroya, that they've taken a different stance. But now it's kicked off a whole nother group of farmers that are doing some amazing stuff on their own. And that's the idea is that they're doing it on their own. And
Yes.
what they needed was just to get the right people to inspire them with some ideas. And
That's it. You know, I've found that often with a lot of these guys, that's what it takes, you know, just that spark, you know, someone to show them that, hey, this is possible. We can connect the dots. And, you know, we're here to support or to be, you know, to help to facilitate that happening. And that's sort of what we've been experiencing, you know, initially when I went into the countries and, you know, we're talking to the farmers, you know, they had this sense, you know, they were kind of resistant and they were kind of like, well, you know, you're not the first person to say that, you know, we know that we've got quality product. We can produce, you know, tons. We've got great arable land. You know, the soil is quality, but what's the point in producing if we don't have the markets to provide this stuff? And, you know, it made me go home and really start thinking like, well, you know, how do we connect these dots, you know? And again, I mean, the work that Bill and the Coffee Trust are, you know, the work that they're doing and, you know, their network, I mean, again, it's truly inspirational. And for someone like myself, so new in the industry, I mean, again, it truly generates hope within me that, you know, the things that I'm working towards are not in vain because, you know, Bill he's done it and he's showing that if you truly, you know, because, you know, I see all too often these companies who present this, you know, as though they want to be about the human rights and they're about the sustainability and the transparency, but it's all at a surface level, you know, and it's great to see companies like, you know, the Coffee Trust and individuals like Bill who, you know, truly look beyond the surface level of we carry this organic certification. Like, okay, that's great, but let us see the work underneath it. Let us see what's really happening, and that's where I truly feel the change happens because, you know.
yeah, not. I'll never. You know, fair trade has
Yeah.
gone through. Well, European versus the U.S. version. It's gone through so much over the years.
Yeah.
But you know, I think there's enough small roasters. When you talk about a network, Bill and I had this conversation too, is that we want other people to pick up ideas and, you know, other people can do exactly that and more.
Yeah.
We don't have to be like this sort of, we don't have to create like another certification label and another bureaucracy. It's just
No.
people are doing these projects. And if we can even just put together, you know, an informal, you know, group just where people just know what other people are doing and just have
Yes.
a checklist.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And this is a great platform, I feel, to, you know, present just such, you know, individuals, because you're right. I mean, I'd love to be able to promote working through the Coffee Trust or, you know, whatever, you know, organization is set.
yeah, I
But
mean, just the fact that you're working with people that, you know, have knowledge from USDA, and I
yeah,
imagine, and you're just gonna, you know, this other organization out of Japan, JICA.
yes,
I mean, yeah, I looked at what they do, and it's pretty amazing. You know, like you, in a way, they have the funds, and then they help determine, you know, hey, we can point you with these people,
yes.
and maybe they fund a project as well. So
And they most certainly can. I mean, we've got a proposal that we're aiming to be presenting to them through the Ministry of Agriculture somewhere early November. We feel it'll be completed and
wow,
you know, revised, but we'll submit it to the and again, I mean, the benefit for us is that we have, you know, the government as, you know, allies on that side. We have, you know, the Telehealth Association here in New Mexico, who are a direct line to JICA for us. And I mean, they've connected us with the highest individuals with JICA. And so we've got direct lines to both on each side. And we feel that, you know, by, you know, one of our board members for Paraiso Ventures is actually one of the members for JICA. Or for, well, he's a member of JICA, but he also works here in New Mexico for the Telehealth Association.
wow.
And so he's done a lot of their proposal writing, and he has had success in, you know, writing proposals that have been accepted and fully funded. And I mean, far larger than the amounts that we're discussing. And so, you know, the benefit is that we have an individual who's going to ensure that our proposal is done properly and that we present it in a way that will, you know, the most optimal chance of success, you know. And so yeah, again, you know, JICA and this is an initial project, and you know, they want to help in projects in, like, as I mentioned before, telemedicine, telehealth, tourism, and you know, they are sort of leaning on, you know, they were asking me, well, Keith, we haven't done much in the region. You tell us what projects, you know, the government would be interested in, and we'd be happy to, you know, let you know where we stand, what we can do, and how feasible it is for us to move forward with that project. And so, you know, we're working hard to try to move these things forward, and because we see the benefit. You know, if we can bring in a processing facility and a manufacturing facility there, I mean, this now allows us to put new, and a part of that also is them providing the training to the individuals, to the local people there in Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea, to be able to take these jobs in this processing and manufacturing facility. And so, I mean, by them coming in and doing that, we now, you know, directly affect the unemployment rate. And so I think that, you know, again, it's really good work, and I see the light at the end of the tunnel. You know, doesn't mean that there's not another tunnel on the other side of that light, but
it never ends up like we expect in the end.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thanks for taking one step after the next, and we look forward to we'll be following up with you. So we'll get close to wrapping up here.
Sure.
When do you think the coffee should be coming in?
So to answer that question, you know, we had to re-strategize a little bit because of COVID. You know, it caused a little bit of a hiccup, you know, in terms of the beans. They were scheduled originally to be arriving here in Houston. Our warehouse is down in Houston. We warehouse at Depoy. And the plan now, well, originally they were supposed to have been here the end of September, but because of delays, we're looking more towards end of November, you know, as to the arrival of the beans. But you know, I'm giving a much further date because I would rather be safe than sorry this time. I want to make sure.
We won't hold you to it. We won't. So, but hopefully this year, if not early next year, and then it sounds like.
100%. You know, this is work that we know needs to be done, and yeah, we're dedicated. You know, we're dedicated.
All right, good. Well, we'll definitely. Well, number one, when you're free, come on over.
Yeah.
I got some other coffees I want to cup with you.
Yeah.
I know that, you know, coffee is a little bit newer for you, and if you like doing that, we'll
hey,
we just got our Chalenze in, and that was due in May. And we just got it last week.
Wow. Well, that makes me feel a tiny bit better, but still, though, I'm ready to get him here. And yes, I'm ready. I'd love to come by and cup some coffees. I mean, I'm all about it. I'm a sponge right now.
I got a more important question on your barbecue.
Yes.
Sugar, mustard, sugar. What's your style of?
All right. So listen, I'm a Georgia guy, man. So we do that Georgia style. We do it low and slow. We do the brown sugar, you know, the molasses based.
Okay.
You know,
the sweet.
The sweet sauce. However, I do amazing North Carolina mustard based sauce.
Yeah, that's.
I'm gonna have to do up a couple cuts of brisket and pulled pork and bring them by for you to sample. You know.
Oh, there's no sampling.
Well, yeah, yes. We'll, you know, on our next meeting, I'll bring a poo-poo platter with me.
Yeah. This sample meat with me? Hell no.
Right.
One a caribou and a wolf.
Yeah. Hey, you roast the coffee, I'll smoke the meat, man, and we'll make it a party.
That's it. Well, we'll wrap this up. Just for people that have actually, if they've managed to listen this long, we're gonna put a bunch of information up. We'll share the JICA information and and just real quick, people need to reach you, what's the best way to get you?
All right, you can reach me, our website, actually. You can check out our website, which is live now. We haven't really done a lot of promotion of it, but we're waiting until we get a little closer with the beans. But the website is paraisotrading.com. And that's
We'll spell that out.
Yeah, Paraiso, paraisotrading.com.
Okay.
And then from there, it has email address. You can find us there. But we're also on Instagram, just at Paraiso Trading, and then we're on Facebook as well. You can see a lot of our cool pictures from the regions and that we've done. And I'll be updating more. I mean, I'm terrible with social media, but I'm getting better. Getting better.
Okay. And so we're going to be posting this on our YouTube channel. We're going to be posting this in a blog that we do. This is all sort of just in celebration of National Coffee Day as we approach the end of the month on the 29th, which is a Tuesday.
Nice.
We're doing a little bit of a different take. Normally it was a very formal fundraiser because we had people coming in store. So what we wanted to do this year is our theme is Connect Over Coffee, as it is every year. But instead of just donating money to a particular organization, we just want to bring awareness to other coffee roasters. If you buy products from people that are doing these kind of projects, and we're getting away from fair trade price, but we're paying what the product is worth, and getting the money in the farmer's hand, getting money in organizations that are also cultivating improvements, not just about the product itself, but the lives of these farmers. This is really our goal. And so this year, we're going to be, I say this on every video, we're carrying the Guatemalan Chowense honey, we've got the cacao, and this year we are buying our coffee straight from Coco Miel.
Wow.
And we've committed an extra 50 cents on top of the price that was already one of the top prices they were getting from one of their top big brokers. And so we know the money is going to the coffee trust, it's going to the farmer, and this is really that's the model. I don't want to just slap a fair trade label on it and say I'm guilt free now. Different world. It's a different world. And so anybody watching this, you can contact me at Trifecta Coffee Company, just Trifecta Coffee Co. You can go reach Bill at thecoffeetrust.org. You can reach Keith at Paraiso Trading. So definitely, Keith, thank you so much for taking the time out, sharing the stories, and I'm going to hold you to that brisket. So.
Hey, you got it. And again, thanks for having me. It was a pleasure. And again, I look forward to working with you all in the future and what the future holds.
Sounds good. All right. Well, you have a great evening.
All right. You as well, Thomas. Always a pleasure. Thank you.
Bye-bye.